Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Between the Sharks. Today we are going to break down this video, the Will It Run and Drive 2200 miles home, featuring this 79 Camaro. We're going to talk about how much it cost to make this video and how much this video made, or didn't, depending on how you look at it. I was already out in California, so my first cost was not the travel to California, but in fact this car. I paid $3,250 American dollars for this car. It was in the back of a picture car warehouse. If you're not familiar with what picture cars are, they are cars that are purchased by companies to be used in movies.
In a movie?
It was in the warehouse for a couple of years. Before that, who knows what the previous owner was doing with it, but the tires were 26 years old, so it had not been on the road regularly for quite some time. So this is a 79 Berlinetta model, and it is a very rust-free example of a second-gen Camaro. We had to buy some tires, and that was about 500 American dollars. We gave it an oil change, that's about 50 bucks. The side glass was missing when I bought it, so that was about 70 bucks, plus window motors, and the battery was shot. The tires, the glass, the window motors, the oil change, the battery, we're in around $1,000 on top of the purchase price. So we are now at $4,250, which is still not bad for a car like this. Now, also to do the work, we had to go to Harbor Freight and buy a whole mess of tools because I had nothing with me. So with the tools to do the work, we're in right around 4,500 bucks on the car. Not bad. Big asterisk, but not bad. Unfortunately, this is the asterisk. So right now we're 4,500 American dollars into a rust-free, running, driving, second-gen Camaro. That's pretty darn good, if you ask me. So the road trip, 2,200 miles from Los Angeles, California to Atlanta, Georgia. The way that it worked out, we did it in 4 days. We left on a Monday morning, arrived after midnight on Friday. That meant hotels for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday we drove all the way from the middle of Texas back to Atlanta. 3 nights in hotels cost us $425.73. Now when we took off, things just started to go wrong, and they continued to go wrong for the entire journey. So in a weird way, we only spent 3 nights in hotels because we were on the road like 13, 14 hours, hotel, work on the car, on the road, fixing it 13, 14 hours, hotel, so on and so forth. If the trip had gone better, I probably would have spent more nights in hotels, increasing this cost because we would have done some more adventuring. And the hotels were not hotels I chose. It was pretty much wherever we were breaking down I was at the mercy of what was available. It was not awesome in that respect. So this 305 was sipping gas. When it was running well the first half of the trip, before we had our second half of the trip problem, we were getting 20 miles a gallon. And when I last checked it on the last day when we were partially down a cylinder, still getting 18. We spent $422.18 on fuel. Now, because we were having so much trouble on the road, I spent $600.82 on parts. That's like 1 billion gallons of oil, distributor, plug wires, just all sorts of stuff that had to get addressed as we tried to make it home, because it was pretty sketchy at times where I wasn't really sure if we were going to make it home. But we, in fact, did make it home. And then food, water, coffee, that type of stuff, I only spent about 100 bucks. I barely ate on the trip. It was a kind of a white knuckle ride, and every time I limped into town, everything was closed. So, it was basically some gas station snacks and hotel coffee for me. Not the most romantic road trip I have ever been on by any stretch of the imagination, but an adventure, yes it was. So all in, a cross-country road trip, $1,573.73. Unfortunately it was $600 in parts. Would have been cool if that was $600 in another hotel night and maybe some good eats somewhere along the road, but that's just not how it averaged out on this one. So the entire road trip comes in at $1,573.73. Plus the $4,500 car, we are now in at $6,073.73. Not so bad. Realistically, got the car, despite the asterisks, which we'll get to and address in a minute. Now, I was already in California, and I already did own all the camera equipment and such because I've been doing this YouTube thing for almost 3.5 years. So now to the part some of you are really waiting for. How much did I make on this video? Sorry about the They're doing construction across the street, and they just love backing up in that thing. So this video has been up for 16 days, and right here on my phone, I have all the analytics. It's been watched 8,000 times, 4,100 watch hours, to a grand total of $156.08 as of right now. Yeah. Now, I did make money some other ways. Somebody bought some stickers, so I made 98 cents on that. And Iowa Merkman sent me a super thanks. That's like a donation you do through the comments for $4.99. YouTube takes 30% of that, so I made $3.50 off that. Yeah. Grand total. So that's about 160 bucks. Do a little calculus, carry the one. We're $5,913.70 in the hole. But I do own the car, technically. However, that's not taking into account that I shot over 8 hours of footage, and it took 40 hours to edit that video to something that I was really proud of, that I thought told a really cool story. So, and that's my spare time. Now, I put a lot of effort in because I was really hopeful that the video would do well. It's not happening. Now, the way YouTube pays out is a little strange. It's not just views, it's mostly watch time, and the way they promote things is an enigma to everybody, but you could extrapolate that if it's $150 for 7,000 views, if you multiply it by 10 to 70,000 people kind of watching it for about the same general amount of time, that would be about 1,500, and that's not no money. And then if you magically exploded and it got 700,000 views, something like a very popular channel might get, that could be a $15,000 video, which is serious money. And the channels that you and I watch regularly get viewing of 700,000 plus, which is, you know, remarkable, but it's a real business at that point, you know? We are still decidedly in the hobby status, in that I'm putting way more time and money into these things than I am getting back out, like way more. But the potential for growth is still there. Like, you can see it. And I am doing my best at making quality videos, hopefully, to grow. That's the plan. That's the hope. I'd say it's more of a hope than a plan, because everything that I'm doing that I think might be more successful isn't really, it's just not taking off. So, you know, but I am working hard at it. This is something I've done before I had a YouTube channel, so I would have done it anyway. So I guess there is also that part of it. This wasn't like a big investment for a YouTube stunt. It was a, you know, I did this with my murder van back in 2015, long before I'd ever really watched YouTube. So with all that information, I still have a 79 Camaro, and were it not for the great big asterisks we're going to talk about a little bit more, this car would have potentially been worth around $6,000, which makes the entire experience a break-even proposition if I sold the car, which is always an option. You know, what a neat way to fund your travel. You know, if you can buy something and have a really great time with it and then pass it along to somebody else, then you get to go on another adventure, maybe, right? Maybe, I don't know. But now for the great big asterisks, right? This is a $6,000 plus car running and driving around. Well, the top end of the motor is off because this spring was lodged in intake valve number 5. This is a throttle return spring that has no business being in intake valve number 5, but yet there it was. I don't believe it was the picture car company. I believe the previous owner dropped this at some point, knowing or unknowing, and as we drove across the country, it rattled into the cylinder head and destroyed the engine. So we're going to take a look at that cylinder head specifically in a video upcoming, the damaged one, and look at how damaged it really became with this thing. But also that leaves us in a position where we have a disassembled non-running car, which takes the value and plummets it.
Not worth anything.
Yes, the body is still worth something, maybe even close to the $3,250 I paid for it for the right person, but I don't really know. So at the absolute bare minimum, we're going to be in roughly some cylinder heads, the intake conversion here, so Edelbrock intake, Edelbrock carburetor. I'm a thrifty guy. I want quality parts, but I want used parts, but that's going to be $1,000 to $1,200 gasket kit, oil change, the whole nine, just to get it back running again. Now, for anyone thinking of doing this, this did not happen because it's an old car. This happened because somebody made a mistake a while back and it caught up with me. That's just how it worked out. Maybe they had no idea that spring had fallen into the intake, and it took me driving it all the way across the country to kind of rattle it down into the cylinder head, where it did significant damage to the head. And that's such an unlikely circumstance if you go out and do this yourself, but a reality I am dealing with just because it's my reality. So this is where I start waxing philosophical. What does that mean for us? Well, it means I'm further into the car than I want to be, cash layout, so we'll see if I can afford to keep it, but we are definitely going to keep working on it. This thing deserves to get back on the road, and we are going to figure that out and then assess what that's all about. Driving across the country for $1,500, it's a worthwhile experience. It's an amazing thing to do. It's an amazing thing to see. Do you need to do it in an old car? I don't know. I've done it in a rental car. It's an absolute blast and way less stressful. Now, as far as driving an old car across the country, will I do it again? Yeah. I mean, like, I didn't do this as a YouTube investment. I was hoping that that would be a perk. I was hoping that the video would grow the channel. I was hoping that it would actually make some money and help make these things more affordable more often. So I am going to continue on working on this, working on the things at the properties here and at the ranch if you follow along. And I may even do another cut of this video. I am proud of the video that I made. I think it's a fun video to watch, but it really has not reached many people. So I may try cutting it down to a 1-hour version and see if that's more appealing for people, because they don't know who I am. They don't know what this channel is, and maybe 2 hours is just too long, but that's just a wild guess. I don't know. What do you guys think? I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this is insightful for anyone interested in making these types of videos. Obviously, you can do a will it run with something in your own backyard and you can spare yourself the journey. But the journey is, well, it's just that. It's a journey. Quite an adventure. As always, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time on Between the Sharks.